In December 1980, in the forests of Suffolk, England, something landed. Not a meteor, not a weather balloon, not a misidentified aircraft. Something that left physical marks in the ground. Something that emitted radiation levels high enough to be measured days later. Something that was witnessed, documented, and reported by trained military personnel from two of the most powerful air forces in the world. And then, almost immediately, buried. This is the Rendlesham Forest Incident, the most credible UFO case in recorded history, and almost no one talks about it. It was December 26, 1980. RAF Woodbridge, a joint US-UK military base in Suffolk, England. Just after midnight, security personnel noticed unusual lights descending into the nearby Rendlesham Forest. Staff Sergeant Jim Peniston and Airman John Burrows were sent to investigate. They were trained soldiers. They had seen things before. They were not easily rattled. What they found in that forest rattled them. A craft, triangular, approximately 3 meters across, hovering just above the ground, covered in strange hieroglyphic-like symbols etched into its surface. It emitted no sound. It produced no heat signature, but it was warm to the touch. Peniston approached it slowly. Every instinct told him to stop. He didn't stop. He placed his hand on the surface of the craft. He later said time seemed to slow down, that the forest went completely silent, that he felt something enter his mind, a stream of binary code, ones and zeros, flooding his consciousness like a download. When he came back to himself, the craft was gone. He sketched the symbols in his notebook that night. 16 pages of detailed drawings. Precise, consistent. That notebook still exists. Those sketches have never been fully explained. The craft lifted off and disappeared into the tree line, but the encounter wasn't over. The following morning, investigators returned to the site. What they found was physical, undeniable. 3 triangular indentations in the frozen ground, arranged in a perfect triangle, exactly where the craft had been. The surrounding trees had broken branches at a height consistent with something large passing through. Radiation levels at the landing site were measured at significantly higher than background levels. Not dangerously high, but measurably, documentably, unnaturally high. This was not a dream. This was not mass hysteria. This was a physical event that left physical evidence. 2 nights later, it came back. Deputy Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt, a senior officer with a distinguished career and absolutely nothing to gain from fabricating a story, led a second team into Rendlesham Forest with recording equipment. What followed is one of the most extraordinary audio documents in history. Halt recorded everything in real time, his voice calm and professional, narrating events as they happened. You can hear the tension beneath the composure. The lights returned. They moved through the trees in ways that defied explanation, stopping, accelerating, splitting into multiple objects. One light beamed something down toward the ground near the base. Halt and his team watched it happen. His radiation detectors spiked again at the landing site. And then, as suddenly as it had appeared, it was gone. That recording was made public. You can listen to it today. A senior military officer in real time describing something he cannot explain. The British government's response was the Halt Memorandum, an official document filed with the Ministry of Defense, signed by Halt himself, describing the incident in precise, factual military language. It was classified. Then, years later, declassified. Then, largely ignored by the mainstream. The official explanation offered by authorities: a misidentified lighthouse beam. The Orford Ness Lighthouse, located 5 miles away, visible through the trees under certain conditions. A lighthouse. For a craft that Penniston touched with his bare hands, that left triangular impressions in the frozen earth, that Halt tracked with a Geiger counter as radiation levels climbed, that split into multiple objects and moved independently across the sky. A lighthouse. Here is what we know for certain. Multiple trained military witnesses from 2 different nations reported the same events independently. Physical evidence was documented, measured, and recorded. An official government memorandum was filed and later declassified. No conventional explanation has ever accounted for all of the evidence simultaneously. Here is what we don't know: what it was, where it came from, what it wanted, why it returned 2 nights in a row to the same location, and perhaps most unsettling of all, what Jim Penniston received in that stream of binary code. Researchers eventually decoded the binary that Penniston wrote down from memory in the days following the encounter. It translated into a coherent message: geographic coordinates, specific locations scattered across the earth. The coordinates pointed to places of historical significance, ancient sites, locations tied to major civilizations, coordinates that seemed somehow deliberate. No one knows why. No one knows who sent them. No one knows what they mean. What we know is this: a trained military sergeant touched something in a forest in England in 1980. Something touched him back, and whatever passed between them has never been fully explained. This is Void Archive. We don't give you answers. We give you the questions they don't want you asking. The next file is already open.